Howdy folks, thanks for joining us. I'm Siddharth Vinayak Patankar. I'm in upstate New York this week in the United States of America to drive this. It's a nice high-end new sedan. It's the latest 6th generation of BMW's flagship, the 7 Series. So it is the 6th 7. All right, you got a smattering of details on this new car that we'll have for you on the program today, but the full detailed drive review will be on the show next week, so look out for that. But why am I talking about next week when we've got plenty for you on this show as well? Let's get on with it and start with the new Audi A6. This is the mid-cycle facelift and it's now here in India as well. Its big USP is matrix LED headlamp technology, but there are a few other tweaks as well. Bala drove the car in Udaipur. Here is the review.
The Audi A6 has reached the middle of its current generation life cycle, so it was time for a facelift and update. After all, taking on the classy Mercedes-Benz E-Class and the sporty BMW 5 Series is no mean feat, now is it? It is the one big USP that Audi is touting on the new A6. And that's been the focus of all communication on it. Matrix LED headlights. This is a row of 19 light-emitting diodes per headlight paired with 4 reflectors, which produce the high beam light without blinding oncoming traffic. The car also has dynamic LED turn indicators and the new daytime running light pattern. So we have to say the car does indeed look reloaded and refreshed.
Now, the matrix LEDs on the new A6 are currently found only in higher-end models like the A8 as well as the new TT in India, and so that is why Audi is making quite a big deal of this. But most of the other changes are fairly subtle in nature to give it a little bit more elegant appeal. But what really stands out are the 18-inch V-spoke alloys that's new on the A6, giving it a little bit more sporty character.
The car is being offered in one trim and one variant, by the way, so everything you see on this review is standard.
So the 2-liter TDI engine on the new A6 has been tweaked for a bit more power. It continues to feel quite agile and responsive. Also, the CVT gearbox on the previous model has given way for the 7-speed S-Tronic, which adds to the fun. Also, you have these paddle shifters, so in case you want to get the car going, you can get these paddle shifters to work really well. But otherwise, the automatic gearbox also performs quite well. Also, in the handling department, you have the new 18-inch alloys, which offer a lot more grip and really improve the overall driving dynamics of the car.
The car's steering has been tuned for city driving. Yet, overall the car handles very well on the highway too. The suspension is also reworked and now fits Indian conditions a bit better, says Audi. The new 18-inch wheels add more stability, especially while cornering at high speeds. The interior of the A6 feels a bit more premium than before with the new wood finish on the dash inlays. The rear passengers also get attention with features like climate control, a remote for the infotainment system, and what we found very handy was the electronically adjustable co-driver seat for additional legroom for the rear left side passenger. Audi's multimedia infotainment system, or MMI, has also been updated to offer a better driver interface and has updated navigation and voice guidance systems. The new A6 comes at an ex-showroom price of almost 50 lakh rupees. The new package does offer a bit more appeal and will hold its own against the 5 Series and E-Class. Things will get interesting when Jaguar finally decides to debut the second generation XF in India.
Now you can see that the twin rings, as far as the headlamp goes, have changed. They aren't proper circles anymore like you used to have on BMWs. It's kind of opened up on one side and you see a line traveling towards the grille, and even the circular part is kind of flat at the bottom. Very distinct new look, and it's intentional because that's the kind of family look that BMW wants to graduate to without losing a sense of that twin ring identity that defines BMW and has done so for decades. So you see one of those coming down the road, you know it's a 7 Series. Like I said, some of the other models will adapt to that kind of a look going forward as well. Now, let's stay high-end here. We've had the Audi A6. We've also got news now on the Land Rover Discovery Sport. The car's finally been launched in India. We've got details for you now on the pricing, etc., and also the Indian variants, and also a recap of our review of the car from Iceland.
Last winter, CNB was in Iceland to test the new Land Rover Discovery Sport. This car was first on CNB in an exclusive year-end review. The Discovery Sport is built on a modified Range Rover Evoque platform. 20% of its structure is made of high-strength boron steel. That's more than any Land Rover, and many of the Land Rover staples are updated. The Indian variants have the 2.2 TD4 and SD4 diesel engines as options. Both use JLR's standard 9-speed ZF gearbox. The cabin of the Discovery Sport is a lot roomier than Freelander 2's. The design is sharp, and while the material quality is good, it doesn't exude a luxurious feel. And that's intentional, as this is the versatile workhouse. Luxury is the preserve of the Range Rover family. The third row is crucial to the Indian buyers. In this segment allows the Discovery Sport to stand apart. It is optional though and not available across variants. The third row of seats do fold up and down easily, and even the second row can be folded for additional cargo needs.
The ground clearance on this vehicle is 212 millimeters, which Land Rover says is best in class, and also you got a 600 millimeter wading capability. Again, the company says that is the best in the segment.
The car has an axle articulation of 320 mm. And like all Land Rovers, this car also has an appropriate approach angle of 25 degrees and a departure angle of 31 degrees to afford better climbing and wading capabilities.
We're not going to be testing that on any kind of smooth tarmac today, that's for sure. You can see that, right? What I can tell you though is that we've been riding on these special studded tires. It does change the ride quality somewhat. It becomes a little noisier and rumblier too. They're not too bad in the cabin, but you need these tires. Trust me, in these kind of conditions, they become a huge necessity.
The Discovery Sport has received a 5-star Euro NCAP crash rating, and besides a whole host of standard safety equipment, also has a pedestrian airbag. The car drives very well and handling is assured and solid.
Clamshell bonnet, the typical grille up front, and also a very typical Land Rover kind of headlamp signature. Now, all of this was too much like the Evoque for some people. The first time we saw the Discovery Sport, there was some criticism that, hang on, like Audi, are all these SUVs now starting to look too much like each other? Having spent some time with the car today, I'm glad to tell you that a little bit of its individuality does come to the fore now. It does have a different stance. We've been seeing a lot of them on the road, some of the other guys who've been driving them. So it does have its own characteristic.
The Discovery Sport has launched at prices ranging from 46,10,000 to 62,18,000 rupees. That positioning is steep and may put off some buyers, especially those who are considering cars like Audi Q5 and BMW X3. But for now, we are glad that the car is finally here and can't wait to see how Discovery family pans out, whether further models are unveiled globally 2016 onwards.
Now, for years and years and years, the 7 Series was pretty much the benchmark. It was the car that was the standard and set the standard for others to follow. But that changed with the current generation Mercedes-Benz S-Class, which took the luxury parameter from here to here, many notches higher, and it also threw in a whole lot of new gadgets and creature comforts. Now, that's something that's almost now become the industry benchmark too, and which is why the new 7 Series needed to not just be sporty and performance-oriented like all BMWs are, but it also needed to pack in all of that and add to its luxury quotient. And that's something I'll run you through on the program next week. Now, to give us a taste of that kind of lifestyle, because that's the kind of buyer who gets a hold of one of these cars, BMW also decided to give us a little bit of that experience, and which is why we flew in from New York City in this. That's right. It was about a 40-minute chopper ride over from Manhattan. And we are here at the Monticello Racetrack, which is a private, members-only track where a lot of these people like to keep their cars. They fly in from the city, have some fun on the track, then fly back home. And, well, it's not completely a bad idea, is it? If you can afford it, it's certainly something that you could get used to. But having said that, we're going to go back to reality when we're done here today. And we'll, of course, have details on the car, like I said, on the program next week. Let's take a very short break here on CNB. We're back with more. An exclusive chance to be among the first to drive this, one of the most exciting new cars worldwide, one that defines new boundaries on Scandinavian design for Volvo and for SUV interiors for the industry. The Volvo XC90 is now here, and you can join CNB on its first India drive. Simply tweet me why I should pick you for the drive at Sid Patankar. Don't forget to add the hashtag XC90 on CNB. Welcome back to CNB. Now, the new generation 7 Series uses carbon fiber in its frame as well to try and reduce overall weight and also increase stiffness. That is a first for this segment, because remember, there's lots of models that have gone the aluminium way. This one uses both aluminium and carbon fiber now, and they're calling it carbon core. All right, let's move on now and talk about that annual Siam convention that's held in the capital. Lots to worry about for the industry because, of course, things haven't quite gone its way for some time now. Now, it isn't just about dwindling sales, it's also about making sure that the market progresses overall and certain trends, etc., start to emerge too. Where does the industry stand on all of this, and where is it going? Ronak Shah was at the convention to find out.
It's been a long and slow 3 years for the auto sector, but halfway through the current final, the industry has shown positive growth.
I won't say it's fantastic and that people are desperate to buy vehicles. I mean, we do have a lot of selling. But you see a significant improvement in heavy commercial vehicles. You see some improvement in cars. Still a lot of new launches are going in, exciting the market. So I think overall it's good. I'm a little concerned on the two-wheelers, but I think two-wheelers will also come out of it and start growing.
The sales of passenger vehicles grew by 7.46% in April to July 2015 over the same period last year. The two-wheeler industry, though, has seen only marginal growth at 0.52%. The recent reduction in the fuel prices and a slight decline in interest rates has also helped. The Society of Indian Automobile Manufacturers, or Siam's annual convention hailed Prime Minister Modi's Make in India effort, but also expressed concern over the lack of movement on the road and transport bill and remains hopeful on GST finally going through.
As far as I look at the market, the total market is growing a little bit, but look at the player-wise, big difference happened because the player who are bringing the new product, they will be successful, but not arranged the new product, they are losing. That is the real situation also. Overall market itself, not so bad, but not so good.
It's been a mixed year so far. Some segments have done well, some companies have done well. The passenger vehicle segment is about okay, but the small commercial vehicle segment has really been growing now for almost 3 years. What's done very well is the heavy commercial vehicle, which for the last 12 months has had consistent growth of 20% plus. So I think a little bit more sort of uniform growth is needed, which I hope to see in the next few months.
And the concerns are not just specific to certain vehicle segments, but also by geography.
If we see from the urban and semi-urban, because these are the markets which are consuming more of scooters compared to the rural India, so this was positively, I would not say it was very promising as far as the total volumes are concerned, but yet at the same time, it was positive enough to give us the incremental volume. And in the rural, it was subdued primarily because of the motorcycle market could not show any sign of improvement post November 2014.
The industry is expected to show an overall growth of 7% this year, which is in line with its growth forecast. Manufacturers are now looking ahead to the upcoming festive season, which is expected to boost sales. Some new launches are also going to be key for players like Renault, TVS, Toyota and Ford, who have missed out so far this year.
Now this is the long wheelbase version of the 7 Series. That's the one, of course, that we will get in India as well. And we'll have a petrol and a diesel, with the diesel likely to be assembled at the plant in Chennai. All of that, though, is quite a few months away still. Now let's talk about how you can get your hands on the perfect off-roader. A lot of people who like to do really hardcore off-roading actually prefer to buy a used car for 2 reasons. One, well, if you really end up damaging it off-road, you don't feel so bad because you haven't spent too much money on it, but that's a fickle way of looking at it. It's also the fact that a used vehicle has been sort of proved and tested before you get your hands on it. So, what's the best way to get one that is right for you? Take a look.
Hi, my name is Niloy Sarkar. I run a group by the name of Terrain Tigers, which is one of the largest off-road groups in North India. A used off-road vehicle is one of the best ways to start getting into this sport. Some of the things that you must definitely look for when buying a vehicle like this is that it's somewhat similar to the way you would look for a used vehicle. However, the technicalities are a little bit different here. Don't get bothered by the blemishes that are there on the vehicle, because off-road vehicles have been used in the past, but the interior is what makes the difference. The inside of the hood is what makes the difference. So spend ample time there. Look for the suspension parts which are worn down. If it's very worn down, stay away from it. Look for the modifications that have gone into the vehicle. That's what determines the price of this vehicle. So say for instance, if the suspension has been modified, or there are lockers in it, or there is a roll cage in it, and there are mud terrain tires in it, that vehicle will automatically be better priced than any other vehicle which is very basic. A used off-road vehicle, just to start with, I would say the minimum that you should have in mind is say around 3 to 4 lakh rupees. And as you start mastering the sport or mastering the hobby that you want to pursue, you keep on spending more on it because the upper limit is infinite.
So it's been a really long day, but a fruitful one. We've had our chance to really get close to the new 7 Series, and you'll get to do that on the program next week. As you can see, I'm back inside Manhattan now, back in New York City, and so of course, I should walk around. I shouldn't waste a minute. I'm going to go do that. Please take care, wear your seatbelts, wear your helmets. I'll see you next week.